kicked out of high school for hacking in the late 90s. And what transpired from that was Microsoft sending out people to come and hire me. So it was like this very low point in my life where I'm like kicked out of high school, feeling like I was going to be this loser, quote unquote. What my principal told me a few days later, Microsoft looking for me and offering me a job if I can at least finish high school. At 19, like you mentioned, I was a lead tech engineer on the Windows 2000 development team. I had about 20 Microsoft engineers under me at 19 years old, and heavy in tech ever since then, a couple decades now. It was a joint venture with Microsoft. So the White House, when they started this tech school, they had sponsors, right? So Microsoft sponsored probably all the operating systems and everything. HP sponsored all the computers, or the hardware, right, servers. Yeah. And so Microsoft and the other sponsors, they were all aware that I had hacked their systems, and so they had sent someone down to actually ask me how I did it first of all, and then offer me a job.
I think that one of the things that's most impressive about you is I feel like even from like an early age when you were hacking and you were in the first technology school in the United States for tech, and then you went on and created your own business when you were as early as 21, I believe. And then you built out the first EMR system for Hawaii, which was like years ahead of its time. How are you always able to think about, I guess, the future of technology and place yourself in front of it before everybody else? Because it seems like you really have a good eye and brain for that.
For me, it was actually just use cases. Once you've gotten pretty deep in technology and you understand the advantages of using it, it was kind of going, well, why are we still, like EMRs for example, why are we still using charts? And then my background, my father was in the military, so we moved, right, constantly moving. And so then you would go to one doctor's office and they would have their folder and chart of all the stuff that you had, but you're only there for a year, right? And then you go to another doctor's office, well, that guy got to get the charts or faxed over to them, whatever, from the prior one. So it was kind of going, well, if everything was just electronic, and we just had one file of our medical history, it'd be so much easier for doctors to assess. And so we already had all the technology there, it's just having people put it together. In the early 2000s, EMRs were actually part of that explosion of the .com. So this was happening a lot in the mainland. It was becoming really the norm later, and Hawaii wasn't there yet.
Well, I know that, you know, you said kind of like that explosion, you saw that coming. I know with the meta suites and even the digital, you know, space and the digital verse and getting people kind of collectively in that, how do you see that explosion into the future now? Because obviously that's one of your main focuses right now with your company MetaSuite. So where is that going and how does that lens look?
So this is how I started out in MetaSuites. And to give a baseline of what MetaSuites is, first of all, so MetaSuites is, we've developed full functional virtual offices. They have all the functionality of a physical office combined with the advantages of Web3. Why did I even endeavor into this project? I've actually always wanted to develop this project, and I just felt like even 8-9 years ago, we're just so far ahead of its time, it wasn't worth putting the time and effort into it at that point. And now I think we are, which is why I'm so excited. But when COVID happened, it forced a lot of us to become remote in the way we worked, interacted, and everything else, right? And during COVID, it was a personal use case of mine, of going, if I had a virtual office that I could actually interact with my employees or staff, we could have more genuine meetings, brainstorming sessions would be more authentic, attention spans, people would be more involved in the meeting, versus Zoom, where I was noticing a trend in the beginning of COVID, when Zoom happened. Zoom became the way to meet for business. People were dressed up, right? They had their ties on still, like they were literally dressed up, even though we all knew everybody was home. And then that quickly degraded to slippers, and bathrobes, and just paused screens, right? Paused cameras. And so, how genuine is our conversations or interaction virtually if I'm looking at people's names and not even looking at their faces anymore? And the reality is, if you pause your camera, I know you're doing 3-4 other things on the side. I am too. If I mute my mic, it's because I'm trying to talk to someone else real quick. Or slowly type while I'm still staring at the camera, right? Like, but all those things are happening. Well, I'm a big face-to-face type person. I can't get rid of the idea that we're going to be working remotely.
Let's go, let's get it. 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 I'm ready.